Hi, my lovely people. Welcome to Linda's TV show. I greet you according to your time zone. Anywhere in the world you are watching this video. If this is your first time of coming across this platform and you like what you are seeing, kindly like, subscribe, turn on your notification bell to all notifications so that you'll be able to know when we upload a new video. A lot of you complain of not seeing my videos, maybe because you do not turn on your notification bell. If you haven't done that, do it right now. Here in Linda's TV show, we react to all forms of videos. We analyze them and present them to you so that you will learn what is happening across Nigeria, Biafra land, and entire world. Now, I always like to put a disclaimer that here we do not promote misleading information, hate speech, violence, or instigating war. Our purpose is to bring to you the happenings so that you'll be informed. Now, a lot of people say you talk too much, you talk too much. I am not talking too much. This is my platform, right? I have to introduce the video. And before you watch, we react. I always sit here to watch together with you. Now I want you to take your time. You see this video, I don't want you to stand up while watching it. You don't need to miss a bit part of this video. I took my time, make research, gather all these videos that you will watch together with myself here. So don't miss. Watch it from the beginning to the end. I promise you, you will never regret spending your time or your data, whatever you are using to watch this video. That I have to react and laugh about is *0Rm now. You know *0Rm, the almighty *0Rm that's letter 4 said that he can conquer the insecurity in the southeast. I'm laughing because it's laughable. While his own town, his own village, his own Yoruba land had been taken over by the terrorists, by the Fulani herdsmen, he have not solved. This is exactly what the Bible said. You have not removed what is in your eyes. You want to go and remove what is in another person's eye. In fact, I would say that *0Rm is disgracing the Yorubas. This is number one thing that I want to react. Immediately I saw this thing, I was just laughing. I said, look at somebody that the house is on fire, that need to fix his own problem first. Is going to now they want to now use him to attack Mazi Nnamdi Kanu and the Igbos. Now, another interesting video that I would like you to sit down to watch. Please, nobody should tell me you talk too much. This is my platform. If you don't want to hear my voice, please, I beg in the name of anything you worship, don't watch my video. I'm begging you, don't watch. I have to speak. You come to my platform and shut me off. You talk too much. Allow us to watch the video. You go and look for the video and watch by yourself. Please, don't tell me you are talking too much. If I see that comment again, I'm not going to take it lightly with you. Please, let's respect ourselves. I believe that everybody watching me is an adult. If you don't want to watch me, don't watch me. If you want to watch, watch. Please, I beg you. So, Gowon waited until the people he had contact with, all of them died before he started writing a book. He wrote the book, although I wasn't born, but that is why I made a research of these videos. He packed all the lies in the world and coupled it up in the book. Now people are bringing evidence what happened during the Civil War. I want you to watch it. Gowon took time to write how many pages of book? Gowon did not even for a second to ask for apology. He did not apologize what he did to the Biafran. He did not feel remorse. And you want to fix everything. You have not acknowledged your mistake. You have not acknowledged what you did to those people. And up to today, I heard in the news they commissioned all the seaports. No Biafran land, no Igbo land was commissioned. And you said we are together. Somebody will come and tell me not to talk. Anybody get there here, I want you to settle down and watch this video and listen to the truth. Listen to the truth. Gowon, you are still alive. You have every opportunity to make amends, only to say you are sorry for all the things you did to the Biafrans. You didn't. Rather, you want to compile lies. And you want to sell your lies. And those who care to believe, they are believing. Let's watch this video. Please like, share, watch to the end. I am a respecter of all. If you respect me, I respect you. If you don't respect me, you don't expect me to respect you. Don't tell me I talk too much. I didn't force you to come here. You know what you are getting. You know, a lot of people like my program. So, I must talk. Okay? Thank you for watching. Let's go there.
Please, with due respect, Mr. Mayi can support Tinubu any way he wants to support. But I think it's a stretch on the over 3 million people that died, the children that were kwashiorkored, the people that were pained, the 10,000 people that were dying of famine on a daily basis, to now say President Tinubu is the Biafra they are looking for.
No, he says he's the Messiah of Biafra.
He's the Messiah of Biafra, whatever I say.
Inclusion, development,
no, Dr.
progress, development.
He should have just kept Biafra out of it. He can hype Tinubu all he wants. But Biafra is a sore point for Igbo people. I have friends that were child soldiers during the war. Please, let's not go there. It's a sorry part. A lot of them are still angry with General Gowon and what he wrote in the book. And the book he recently released.
Most of those people have not read the book.
No, they have read the book. They have read the book. And a lot of them are still feeling very hard done. And these are witnesses to history. It didn't happen behind them. I'm saying child soldiers. People that went through the pain. And I think it is very sad. No, I'm not talking about Sonny Roche. So you don't even know
was a child soldier.
No, so you don't even know who I was talking about. So that was somebody else. It's not even Sonny Roche. So I think it is very despicable and sad for us just to mitigate the plight of Biafra and what happened there. And you see, Hoji, we have never taken our time to review what happened in Biafra. Atonement for Biafra is just more than no victor, no vanquish. It is deeper than that. Atonement is not in political rhetorics and political positions here and there. No. Just after the war, we had the top political parties ceding their vice presidential position to somebody from the southeast. We all know how Alex Ekweme, prominent architect, became the vice president of Nigeria. But that's not atonement. Atonement is a full sense of belonging. And that's why a lot of people are agitating and say, an Igbo presidency might just be a step in the way. So it's a deeper conversation, and let's not mitigate it on the bounds of politics. You can hype Tinubu, you can say he's your God Almighty, you can lick his foot, you can do anything. But when you start to mention Biafra in that way, it loses me, please.
And officials say nothing. Elections lose credibility. Benjamin Kalu knows what credible elections look like. So, Rufai, why is he presiding over this?
Do you take what they are doing called election? Is this election?
What is it?
Seriously?
It is not election.
Wait, you see.
Like I said the other day, I thought it was a skit.
You know, it's a skit. The funny part for me is now, and I think I want to abuse that narrative here. Please, this is never going to be a pretext for what's going to happen in the next election. Because if they are now saying that if President Tinubu can get 11 million within his own party, that means he can't get anything less than that. That's a bad narrative. That's a pretext for rigging. Anybody that repeats that narrative is part of rigging in this country. That person should be dealt with. These are no elections. We're just checking the number of Iba and I. Are you telling me 91% of registered member in that political? That's why I asked something like that question. If 11 million people voted for president, you're saying 91% turnout. Which election has 91% turnout? In a democracy where we have less than 20% turnout. So anybody that is repeating that narrative that it shows that President Tinubu is not going to get anything less than a million votes is part of those rigging in this country. And people like that should be condemned and be abused. Because this is a pretext for rigging in the next election. And INEC, Shan, you know INEC chairman, you have not still independently put yourself forward for independent auditors to forensically look at your own Twitter handle with that case. You know, we are still looking at that matter. These are the things we will say after the election. Secondly, Oji, please, with due respect, Mr. Mayi can support Tinubu any way he wants to support. But I think it's a stretch on the over 3 million people that died, the children that were kwashokored, the people that were pained, the 10,000 people that were dying of famine on a daily basis, to now say President Tinubu is the Biafra they are looking for.
No, he says he's the Messiah of Biafra.
He's the Messiah of Biafra, whatever I say.
Inclusion, development,
no, Dr.
progress,
Dr.
development.
He should have just kept Biafra out of it. He can hype Tinubu all he wants. But Biafra is a sore point for Igbo people. I have friends that were child soldiers during the war. Please, let's not go there. It's a sorry part. A lot of them are still angry with General Gowon and what he wrote in the book. And the book he recently released.
Most of those people have not read the book.
No, they have read the book.
Where did they get a copy?
No, they have read the book. And a lot of them are still feeling very hard done. And these are witnesses to history. It didn't happen behind them. I'm saying child soldiers. People that went through the pain. And
like
I think
Mr.
it is very sad. No, I'm not talking about Sonny Roche. So you don't even know
was a child soldier.
No, so you don't even know who I was talking about. So that was somebody else. It's not even Sonny Roche. So I think it is very despicable and sad for us just to mitigate the plight of Biafra and what happened there. And you see, Hoji, we have never taken our time to review what happened in Biafra. Atonement for Biafra is just more than no victor, no vanquish. It is deeper than that. Atonement is not in political rhetorics and political positions here and there. No. Just after the war, we had the top political parties ceding their vice presidential position to somebody from the southeast. We all know how Alex Ekweme, prominent architect, became the vice president of Nigeria. But that's not atonement. Atonement is a full sense of belonging. And that's why a lot of people are agitating and say, an Igbo presidency might just be a step in the way. So it's a deeper conversation, and let's not mitigate it on the bounds of politics. You can hype Tinubu, you can say he's your God Almighty, you can lick his foot, you can do anything. But when you start to mention Biafra in that way, it loses me, please.
All right. Well, the reactions are mixed. Like Dr. Abate said, there are so many meanings to it. It could mean inclusion.
Of well-meaning Igbo men and women, Igbo sons and daughters, to give General Gowon this message. We saw in the book you wrote, My Life of Duty and Allegiance. And we saw everything you wrote. In the 181 pages of that same book you wrote, sir, there was never a place, never a paragraph, a sentence where you regretted the wasting of millions of lives of Ndibo during the war. Everything about your book was your duty and allegiance. Your duty and allegiance. And your duty during the war was to waste life of Ndibo. And probably allegiance to Nigeria is to make sure that as far as the Igbos decided to secede from Nigeria, they should be wasted. That is the only summary of the book you wrote. Your Life of Duty and Allegiance. 881 pages. A book you would have used to heal Nigeria. A book you would have used to appeal to the conscience of Nigerians, to the conscience of the present day leaders, to treat Ndibo right. A book you would have used to conclusively make Ndibo part and parcel of Nigeria. But you failed, sir. You failed because this stubbornness of Nigerian leaders are still found even in the early leaders. It shows that even the early leaders of this country are as stubborn as the present leaders of Nigeria. The ego of Nigerian leaders, instead of them to repent, they are always explaining. They are always blaming the next person. In your 881 pages of your Life of Duty and Allegiance, you used half of the pages to blame Ojukwu for the war. You said Ojukwu did not, Ojukwu came home and started announcing the Aburi Accord, whatever. When Ojukwu waited for you to announce this confederation so that every confederate state in Nigeria, every component part of Nigeria will manage their resources and give the federal government their own percentage. You came home and you are ambassadors in Lagos, you are commissioners in Lagos, and you are ministers in Lagos confused you. Something you signed. Something that you are delegates, you are secretaries from Nigeria, and the secretaries from Biafra went to Accra to write and rewrite and review and go through and remove and impute and output. Everything was concluded in Accra. Even the general, the army general that was the president of Accra then, Accra, right? President of Ghana then, by them, Accra. While driving two of you and Ojukwu, to the airport, was very happy. Was very happy. Two of you promised the man that you are going to implement the Aburi Accord. You went to Lagos and they confused you. Something you signed in Ghana. Now you came home now in your book, now you are blaming Ojukwu. You are blaming Ojukwu. When they said immediately you get home, make sure that Nigerians know that this is what was decided in Ghana. You were wasting time. You were dilly-dallying. You were trying to play games with what the lives of Nigerians and the lives of Ndibo. And the killings continued. And now you said Ojukwu didn't wait. Ojukwu was in a hurry. Because you were trying to play games with the life of Ndibo. In your 881 pages of your life of duty and allegiance, you never for once told us why there was a federal blockade. There was a federal blockade that blocked human rights and human organizations, charity organizations, from coming into Biafra, to give them food, give them certain things for the survival of the war. You blocked every aeroplane. You blocked countries. You blocked charity organizations from flying into Biafra to deliver food. You didn't apologize. Federal blockade or blockade of any type, of any kind during the war is not a military strategy. It is a crime against humanity, and you committed it. Go on. Go on, you committed crime against humanity, committed the crime against Ndibo by blocking food from coming into Biafra. And you didn't apologize. You didn't say, I am sorry. You are 90 years old, sir. Millions were killed during the Biafran war. You blocked food, social amenities, things that are supposed to alleviate the suffering of men, women, old men and old women during the war in Biafra land. You blocked food from reaching them. And more people died of your federal blockage than those bullets killed. And in your 881 pages, sir, you didn't say, I am sorry. Your federal troops, area bombings, targeted schools where children and women are, targeted hospitals, targeted churches, targeted marketplaces, which are never military strategy, but a crime against Ndibo. You bombed schools, you bombed hospitals, you bombed marketplaces, you bombed churches. These things are not allowed during the war. But you did it, go on. But you didn't say, I am sorry. To you, it is war. To you, go on, it is war. Even refuge camps. Refuge camps, go on, you bombed them. To you, it is war. Yet, it is a crime against Ndigbo. A crime during the war. You don't do that. You said you're a military man. There was nothing military about the war you prosecuted against Biafrans. Nothing military about it. Everything you did, go on. I put it to you, sir, was to annihilate, exterminate Ndigbo. I'm in Nigeria. We know the kind of eyes you people from the north look at us that are from the east. We know. Thank God we know. Now, everything you did during the war, even trying to deny that Britain didn't help you people, we know you are lying, sir. Even to deny that America didn't help you people, we know you are lying. And we know that this issue of Soviet Union, or the issue of Ojukwu using the Biafra mineral resources, mortgaging to France, so that France will be supplying Biafra with weapons. We know you are just using it as a propaganda, sir, because we know the truth. Even when France asked Ojukwu to mortgage it for 20 years for them, so that France will supply Biafra with all necessary ammunition for the war, Ojukwu refused. Ojukwu said no. That was why Biafrans, during the war, resorted to self-help, resorted to building our own bomb, building our own armored car, building our own ammunition. If France had helped Biafrans during the war, there would be no Nigeria. Let me repeat. If what you said, that Ojukwu mortgaged the mineral resources of Biafrans to France, so that France will supply Biafrans with ammunitions. If France had supplied the Biafrans with the kind of ammunitions you stated in your book, sir, there would be no Nigeria. You lied. And we know you lied at 90 years. After the war, you said there was no victor, there was no vanquished, everybody this and that, Bobo Tibo and all the rest. But after the war, what did you do? Every millions, pounds, naira, whatever, that Biafrans had, they only went home with the 20 shillings. You did it. Go on. You did it. Yet you said there was no victor, there was no vanquished. You same Gowon. You said there was no victor, there was no vanquished. But every Igbo man that has reached the height of his career in the public service, in the civil service, was reduced to ordinary junior clerk, junior officer. No Igbo man or woman was allowed into the higher cadre of the public service, especially the federal service. No Igbo man under you was a senior officer in the federal civil service. No Igbo man was permanent secretary under you in the federal civil service. No Igbo man reached the federal position, the normal federal position of somebody that has reached the career in the federal service. Under you, go on. Yet you said there was no victor, there was no vanquished. Go on. You rebuilt Southwest and he rebuilt the North. You abandoned the East. Yet you said there was no victor, no vanquished. Even in Port Harcourt, you allowed this slogan of abandoned properties to take root especially in Port Harcourt, because they worked hand in hand with you during the war. They helped you to sabotage the Biafran war. They helped you to sell off the Biafran people. They helped you to sabotage. In fact, go on. The truth remains that instead of you using the 881 pages to say, I am sorry. Yes, it was the life of your duty and the life of your allegiance or whatever. But millions died before you. Thousands massacred before your very eyes. You would have used these 881 pages of the book you wrote to heal Nigeria finally, but you didn't because of the ego. Why will you apologize to Ndigbo who are there? Who are the Easterners? Who are the Southeasterners? Who are there? Why will I say sorry? But the sorry would have healed a whole lot of things. If you had said sorry in that your book, you would have healed a whole lot of things. You would have showed in Igbo a different perspective from which they could not look to Nigeria, or look onto Nigeria, or look at Nigeria. You would have changed a terrible mindset of Igbo against Nigeria if you had said sorry in your book, sir. Even during the Holocaust in Germany, the German chancellor knelt down and begged Germans, begged the world, begged the Israelis, begged the Jewish population, and said sorry for the Holocaust caused by Adolf Hitler. Sorry, we are sorry. Even in Rwanda, after the genocide in Rwanda, the president said sorry. The current president said sorry. He was a rebel leader then. He said sorry. And he rebuked Rwanda. He doesn't care who is a Husi, or who is a Hutu, or doesn't care who is, he doesn't care. Every section of that country was rebuked. Even America, after slavery, said sorry. America said sorry to black Americans that were sold as slaves to America. They said sorry. And they rebuked their colony, rebuked their states, and made them comfortable. We have a lot of conflicts in the world that their leaders have come out to say sorry. But go on, you chose not to say sorry. You are trying to be diplomatic. There are a lot of things you did not say. And those things you did not say are the truth. And you know it, sir. You chose the ones you want us to hear. You chose the ones you want us to believe. But, sir, as a student of government and public admin, and of course political science, sir, we have raw manuscripts of the Aburi Accord, recorded video of the Aburi Accord, and what transpired between you and Ojukwu in Ghana. And we know that if we should blame anybody for the 1966 coup, we should blame Awolowo. We should blame Awolowo. Because even the coup plotters said it. Their main job, their main purpose was to make sure that they strike, and probably after succeeding, they will go to prison and bring out Awolowo and make him the president of Nigeria. Yet you people tagged it Igbo coup. You people are not yet ready to heal Nigeria. You people are not yet ready to say the truth. When you people are ready to heal Nigeria and say the truth, we, Igbos, we know. But
the first massacre of Igbos in the north, killed. So if it's figures we're looking into, certainly they were very heavy. When we're talking of genocide, it's intent that really matters. There was no distinction. The mere fact that you were an Easterner in those days labeled you fit only for one thing: death, and death at the hands of the Nigerian authorities. The Igbos and their associates were killed in practically every village in northern Nigeria. They were killed in many places in western Nigeria. They were in Lagos, even on Kata Bridge, the very center of Lagos. People were looked at and thought, oh, this looked an Igbo, and killed. The very first army officer killed in Lagos, actually, during that time was from Calabar. Was killed on the bridge, and so on. Igbos were being hunted out and killed. The Igbos that remained in Lagos after the war began were herded together and detained without any trial or anything, no question of any legal rights. Till today, property of Igbos are still sequestered in various areas of Nigeria, and they have not been released, not all of them, to the Igbos, the original owners? Oh no, we're quite certain. In fact, the only reason it is not called or not accepted as genocidal is because of the Cold War. At that time, anything ethnic-based was almost like an insult to humanity. And ethnicity became a term of abuse in politics. That's all. If it were today, certainly, what happened in Nigeria is much, much worse than what you have seen of Rwanda, not to talk about Eastern Europe.
In 1966 coup, who carried out the coup and for what reasons?
I thank you for giving me this opportunity to try and enlighten people on this coup that seems to be at the center of subsequent problems in Nigeria. The coup of January 15th, 1966 was actually led by Major Ifajuna, and he commanded the activities in the south, and Zogo, another major, coordinated the northern side of it from Kaduna. The reason for the coup, if you remember, Nigeria became independent in 1960. We had a government, a quasi-Westminster type government with a parliament and a ceremonial president, reflecting, as it were, the Queen of Great Britain. That was Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe, and Tafawa Balewa was the president from the north. Now, the real problem with Nigeria has always been the imbalance of the federation that was known as Nigeria. I remember when I was at school, I was taught that the great thing about a federation was that no federating unit should ever be preponderant over the others. As it happened, the Nigerian Federation, when it was created, was given down to Nigerians from London. And that federation contained the imbalance of the North being preponderant, in fact, over the two other sides, the West and the East. And this created, right from the first day, a certain degree of friction. The North could dictate, and the South, whichever part of the South, could just complain if it's not in accord with what the North wished. The first few years of independence were not too bad, but there were a lot of unfulfilled ambitions of the Nigerians, because in those days we thought that once you got independence, you were free and everything worked, and you joined the higher league of nations internationally, discussing what went on. In fact, to Nigerians it looked as though, and indeed they tended to show, that independence in itself was the achievement. Now Nigeria was free, us were a member of the world. Instead of looking upon it as the beginning of our journey to nationhood. And I say this, and I want to underscore it. Nigeria was not, has never been a nation. We had the aspiration, hopes that Nigeria one day would become a nation. And that has been elusive up till today. The reason being that, most unfortunately, the powers in Nigeria were concentrated in the hands of the North, which was preponderant, and wrongly so. At independence, we hoped we would be able, in fact, the three leaders of the country had different notions of independence. There was the actual leader of the struggle for independence, Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe, who rightly thought that independence now created, as it were, a beginning, but that we were already a nation and we were now finding our positions in his own philosophical, political beliefs in Pan-Africanism. So we just had to move into the broad continental alliance. The North, under the Sardauna of Sokoto, whose agent was the Prime Minister Tafawa Balewa, felt that the Nigerian nation, one had to tread very slowly, because he saw and they saw a great deal of inequities in Nigeria, and perhaps the most important then was the level of education between the North and the South. And therefore that affected, of course, the position of the North, or Northerners, in the bureaucracy of Nigeria. The Sardauna and the people of the North got down to trying to build up the North, taking everything they could from the Federation to build up the North to a position in their minds of equality between themselves intellectually and the rest of Nigeria. The West, under Chief Obafemi Awolowo, thought likewise and took the position of consolidating the West so as to ensure that at a given time the West would then emerge superior to either the North or the East. Again, let me go back to the problem of the East. The East entered independence having accepted that the nation was already there. Naturally, the concept of nationhood implied a great deal of sacrifice by the East at all points. First sacrifice, the non-emergence of Dr. Azikiwe as the first executive leader of Nigeria. He vacated the place. He made the sacrifice so that the North could be accommodated. Second, very simple. During the constitutional conferences, independence was offered Nigeria before 1960. But to be able to accommodate the North, that Dr. Azikiwe believed was already part of a nation, we got this rather odd situation where a nationalist refused independence to wait for the North, and so on. Yet, your question, sir, was the question of the reason for the coup. So let me go into it. The teething problems of Nigeria after 1960, the independence, manifested itself in a number of ways. There was a friction over the preponderance of the North. There was certain difficulties about religious beliefs in the country. There was corruption, bad administration, and so on. But the real problem came from the West, which by 1966 was really in turmoil. And the reason was quite a simple one. Where does a leader lead from? In the north, the Sadhana led from Kaduna, in the north. His agent was in the south, Prime Minister. Awolowo for the West believed his position was better and he would be have greater effect on Nigeria if he ruled from the Federation. So he looked towards Lagos. And his deputy, Akintola, he was quite prepared to leave the West too. What a funny thing happened during the election. A funny thing happened. Dr. Azikiwe, who also opted for the Federation, won the election in the West. And it now looked as though an Igbo man was ruling in the East, ruling in the Midwest, and about to rule in the West. And this was not acceptable to the West. We started our problems there, because overnight the victory of the NCNC in the West was nullified by a number of Yorubas crossing from the government to the opposition side and creating a new government. And this actually is at the foundation of the distrust between the Igbos still now and the Yorubas. Now, law and order broke down in the West after the second election. There was so much rigging. In fact, BBC had this rather wonderful statement. It said that men became pregnant overnight with votes. Because, you know, we wear these huge robes, and you can stuff as many ballot papers inside them. And as a result of that, and because by then Awolowo was in jail for treasonable felony, it was felt that the North used its powers to ensure that Akintola, who became their stooge, won the election. It became very dangerous to travel around the streets of Lagos or the West, anywhere. That's when they started throwing acid at people in the streets, in your car, the phenomenon known as wet year. That is wet in wet year. Throwing acid on people. And it was to halt this, actually, that the military was pulled out of barracks to help stabilize the situation. And this went on. We were not moving anywhere. The countries were becoming independent. We were seeing Julius Nyerere creating personality in Africa, Nkrumah there, and so on. Nigeria is big, and with all the promise of independence, was clearly doing nothing. It was then that a group of young officers, now let's get it straight. The young officers had within Igbos, Yorubas, and Hausas. The way the Nigerian army was structured, you could not escape a preponderance of Igbo officers. And these were at the middle level, because they were essentially majors By then I was a lieutenant colonel, so I wasn't part of it. I was then commanding a battalion in Kano. The coup ostensibly, because I later found out that the whole aim of the coup was to halt this apparent drift in Nigeria. But significantly, you know what they wanted to do? To create a presidential commission of army officers as a safeguard to the people who would guard the nation and hand over government to Chief Obafemi Awolowo.
I woke up and Chukuma had told me that they were doing exercise and all that. Well, he never told me that the exercise they were doing was a coup. So I woke up and I didn't see Chukuma, I didn't see anything. So I went to the mess, that's where we eat, and as single officers, the mess is our home. And I got there, I saw the steward in the mess, all in what we call fatigue dress. That is their dress as if they were going to exercise or going to. And I said, what is happening? He said, Oga, you know here? I said, I know here what? Premier don't die.
Premiers, Sadona.
Premier don't die. Brigade commander don't die. Premier don't die. That's Sadauna.
Yeah.
That's the premier. Brigade commander, Ademolego. Was killing them. So I took the telephone, I phoned the brigade headquarters. Now, the officer there, I was then a major. The officer there, captain, I said, look, tell me what is happening. He said, what have you heard, sir? I said, I heard that Premier is dead, the brigade commander is dead. He said, well, you heard well. I said, who killed them? He said, if you want to know more, come here. I said, I have no transport. He said he will send me a Land Rover. So, send me a Land Rover. I went there. I went to his office. He said, well, I saw soldiers all dressed up in battle dress. So when I finished talking to that officer, he said, Betty, your friend is in the brigade commander's office. That's Chukuma. So I went there. Chukuma he had been dressed by the doctor. I think he had shrapnel.
So he was injured?
He was injured. So I said, Chukuma, what is all this? Oh, he said I was wounded in that bloody man's house. I said, which bloody man? He said, Sadauna. I said, what the hell are you doing there? They shut up. Don't ask stupid questions. When your friend says that to you, you know that. So I said, Chukuma, have you had breakfast? He said, have you had breakfast? He said, Oba, go and make breakfast for me. It's only food that you make for me that I will eat. So I went to our house and made breakfast and brought to him. Of course, that was a defining issue in Nigerian life, political and social, economic, and in the Nigerian army.
So at the Aburi Accord, Ojukwu was prepared. He said, look, let's reduce tension. Let's allow each region operate fairly, semi-autonomously. Let's minimize unnecessary contacts that will bring pain and suspicion. It will still remain a country, could have everything, our defense together. But Gowon agreed because he saw that he was going to save the nation from going to war, save the nation from crippling, and restore some peace. He agreed. They signed off.
At Aburi Accord.
Aburi. So Ojukwu came back and we all hailed and said, thank God we're staving off war, staving off this. A few days after that, Gowon now reneged. He had come, his permanent secretary, permanent whatever, there were those they call super PAMSECs, and they confessed, people like Asiodu, people like the former Kenzua, the former Oba of Benin, they were super PAMSEC then. They said they reviewed what was agreed. They found that Gowon had given too much to Ojukwu. He had given too much to Ojukwu. Can you imagine? Had given too much to Ojukwu. What is the meaning of that?
By agreeing that everybody should be at peace and control. Let them go.
They told him not to accept.
Don't you think Western powers were behind the reason why the Aburi Accord failed?
I wouldn't see what would be the real benefit of Western powers. I wouldn't see much benefit.
The benefit there is that they said that was the period that the oil was discovered, the oil boom started. So don't you think the Western powers want to have that control on that oil? That was the reason why they had to influence Gowon on what he did.
I wouldn't think so, because Nigeria was not the only place having oil. All it was in the Middle East. All it was, if Nigeria was the only place, you can say that's the only source they have.
So if I get you categorically, you are trying to say that Western powers were not the one that influenced Gowon.
No, I don't think it's Western power. I don't think the influence was overwhelming. I don't think so. Why? I believe that it was the same Nigerian conspiracy, the same selfishness, the same greediness of these PAMSECs. They told us, they had interview that they felt they had given too much. So, you know, it was to protect their own ego.
So what do they want to achieve by saying?
They wanted to, they say, look, like, they say, how can a part be dictating to the whole? It was just ego. How can it be one man? What he says is what we're going to do. Just ruling over one part of a nation. We have the 3/4 of the nation. What can he do?
How is it?
Because 3/4 of what you come to a negotiation. You come with your own 10 points. I come with my own 10 points. We agree on my own 9 or 7. And I agreed on 2 or 3 of your own.
Oh, I see.
So Ojukwu had a predominant, the logic of Ojukwu, his persuasive power, convinced Gowon that his own position was superior. Without undue influence. But when he now went back, the people around him,
and they were north and west, that were those people.
They were, yes, now, because it was a war, it was a quarrel between the west, the east, and the rest of. As I told you, part of the reasons that this coup was carried out was to make Awolowo the prime minister. Part of the coup, beyond fighting corruption and the poor leadership of Tafawa Balewa, they wanted to bring Awolowo, who was imprisoned by Tafawa Balewa, to become the prime minister. That was part of their reasons. So eventually, and you know where they sent Awolowo? He was sent to Calabar prison through the work of Zik, because Zik was still the president. So he made sure Awolowo was sent, because if he had been sent to North, they probably would have killed him. So he was in Calabar, which was part of the eastern Nigeria. That became an allure for him. So he accepted. So when this issue of should we accept Aburi or not, this was same Awolowo, who before this time, he went to the east, met Ojukwu, met Okpara, and then he spoke there. It was in the Nigerian outlook. If the east goes, the west will go. The west will follow. That if the east was allowed to secede, they will also go. So one of them impetus, even the east had to stand their ground. The Aburi Accord fell apart. The Nigerian now said, okay, the way it is going, what next do we do?
If Nigerians don't want to continue to be slaves to a political class that has no distinction whatsoever, then we must act together and insist that democracy belongs to us and that there is no place for negotiating the credibility of the 2027 election. The politicians think that politics, democracy belongs to them. They ignored the call of the citizens for there to be instant, real-time, electronic transmission of summation of votes, because they keep trying to pretend to Nigerians that Nigerians are asking for something else. Nigerians are not saying that as soon as each individual votes, it goes to some electronic platform. Nigerians are saying when you collect the votes at the stations, that from what's that EC8A, that EC8A, as agreed by everybody who was at that polling station, must be uploaded so that should there be a hijack along the way or any kind of manipulation, that which is in the IREF, which is in the electoral law, will suffice as a means of validating. They refused because they already know what they plan to do. And they signed it surreptitiously. Even the House of Reps that had said it stood with the people were of course threatened. They would not get their tickets. And every one of them just lined up against the Nigerian people. We must remember this. Nigerian people have constantly been disrespected by the political class, and the movement for credible election says no to that continuing. So we're going to continue based on the suggestions that have been made that we must continue to engage in the processes that will compel the electoral umpire to do right by the people. The second thing that we have done as movement for credible elections is organized nationwide advocacy. We have had the Occupy National Assembly, and there were citizens who came out. And as a matter of fact, we're tear-gassed. We're tear-gassed. People came out. More people need to come out. You can't sit in your home because somebody is subsidizing government for you. Some of the Nigerians who can hardly feed their families are looking to their fellow human beings to be giving them money. And because they are subsidizing, they are now your social safety net. No! Individuals cannot substitute for government. Every society must be run by effective governments. That is what will guarantee you your well-being. So when you are asked to come out and to defend an action that is for your own good, don't sit at home and think that protesting that which is wrong is the business of some people. You didn't hire anybody to defend your well-being. It is your responsibility. So when we next call for citizens to come out and to stand for credible elections, we hope that as many of you as possible will join us as a movement. Number 3, we have taken legal actions against government. We did go to court because those who were still in court, because those who came out were tear-gassed. How can you shrink the democratic space for protest? It is akin to beating a child and saying, don't you dare open your mouth and cry. We will not accept that. Therefore, our going to court is something that we will see to the end of it. So I want you to know that this is not a movement that calls people to just chat or to just talk. We back what we say with action. I just want to see that those of you who are still here, do you think that this movement for credible elections is representative of what you as a Nigerian citizen would like to see in our democracy? Let me get a yes or a no. Yes. Now, those of you that didn't say yes, what are you? Are you part of those parties? Okay, I will ask you again. Do you think that this citizen movement for credible elections is a good platform for the Nigerian citizens to take back their democracy? Yes, and we shall. We shall. Because collective action in a democracy is the only pathway to freedom. It was Thomas Jefferson, a very prominent former president of the United States, that said that eternal vigilance is the price that the people of any democracy pay for liberty. If Nigerians don't want to continue to be slaves to a political class that has no distinction whatsoever, then we must act together and insist that democracy belongs to us and that there is no place for negotiating the credibility of the 2027 election. What citizens contribute to the development of society. We cannot be bystanders while all goes wrong in our country. And so this is citizens' effort. This is simply citizens from all over this country. We were just contributing money, right? Little pieces of money. Put this together. Not because any of the people contributing is rich. Simply because they are determined to put their money where their heart is. I started off this meeting by saying, if we don't care about ourselves, at least care for our children. Care for our children. The sustainability of Nigeria is under threat by virtue of the kind of politics that we have now seen to define our democracy. In fact, this is no longer a democracy. This is anything but a democracy. And so gathered today, we have heard from various speakers. We had some of the presidential aspirants or candidates of parties and their representatives. We also heard from party leaders. We've heard from the Women Group of Nigeria, the Women Manifesto, made up of more than 350 women-led organizations in the country. We've heard from a young Nigerian. We have had such incredible points, basically all ending in this. Conversations are very important for democracy, but even more important and critical are actions that back the conversations. I think it is very clear to us some of the things that we must do following this. As Wale began to already say, we will consolidate all of the suggestions and the asks that have been made here today. We'll consolidate it into what they call what do we call it? Communique of this meeting is. We will consolidate that and then it will be published. But it's important for us to also get you to understand the credibility of the movement that invited you here today. Since this movement started, it's not even a year ago. It's not yet a year. It was in November. Since it started, there are at least 3 things I know the movement for credible elections has done. 1, we campaigned vigorously for electoral reforms. We pushed for mandatory electronic transmission, mandatory. And the country got changed because, of course, yes.
Hello, my wonderful people. As we have finished watching this interesting video, please, I want to see your comment, your contribution, your opinion in the comment section. Like I said earlier, let us do it constructively. Tell me what you think about this video that you have just watched. And also, about the platform. If you haven't subscribed, what are you waiting for? Please remember to subscribe, put on your notification bell, share this video, and remain blessed.